the honors of sharing a little bit of room etiquette with you. Please, if you're not talking, please keep your microphone muted, and if you can, please keep your camera on so that we can see you, and also ensure that you are with us with your correct name and not any nickname. We will have quite a long program today, so our speaker later on will present, and then as usual we do have Q&A, so either you just sort of put your question in the chat, or you just raise your hand and then we will organize the Q&A later. So with this, I hand over to President Dinesh to open the meeting.
Thank you, Honorary Secretary Bridget. It's my pleasure to call the meeting to order. Very warm welcome to Honorary Member Pak Mohan, HM Bhagwan, past presidents, prospective members, fellow Rotarians. Very good evening and warm welcome to all of you. Very special welcome to our visitor, President Lina from Rotary Club of Shanghai International, President of Jurong Town Club, Tekshin. And very special welcome to our speaker, Ms Georgette Tan. I've seen her, and she's the President of United Women Singapore. She will be speaking to us later on the topic, empowering women and girls in Singapore. Thank you, Georgette, for accepting our invitation, and thank you for speaking to us later today. I will now call upon Rotarian Aarti Wadhwa to raise the toast for Rotary Club of Shanghai International and Rotary International. Aarti, please.
President Dinesh, it's my pleasure today to raise the toast to the Rotary Club of Shanghai International, as well as Rotary International, and I welcome Rotarian Lina Wong to our meeting. She's the chartered president-to-be. It's a bilingual club with a provisional status and has 19 members. Welcome.
Let's raise the toast.
Raise a toast.
Thank you.
All right, Shanghai, all right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
you, Rotarian Aarti. I'll have to share my screen now. May I call upon Honorary Secretary to make the announcements, if any.
Yes, it's just one, President. It's the first Thursday of the month tomorrow, the 4th of February, and we will have the CSC meeting. I'm not at 7 o'clock on Zoom as usual. I'm not aware if Irina, who's still in New Zealand, is hosting, or if Jessica is taking over. So
no, it will be Jessica.
It will be Jessica. Okay, fine. So I'm sure the login details will be shared in the chat, and everybody is aware about the meeting. I think that's it from me.
Thank you, Bridget. Birthdays, very special birthday today to our honorary member Adam Molidina, and he celebrates tomorrow his 101st birthday. I think all the senior Rotarians know him very well. We used to welcome him in the meetings, and I will send a bouquet of flowers tomorrow on behalf of all of you and the Rotary Club. We'll do it tomorrow. And let's join me in sending him our best and very happy birthday, 101st birthday to Adam. Wedding anniversary, we have the celebrants Elizabeth Chi and John, 6th of February. Oh, Atul and Bella Merchant on 8th of February. best wishes to both the couples for their wedding anniversary. There are some announcements from my side. I'm very pleased to inform you that Rotary RI President-elect Shekhar Mehta have announced the new theme for the Rotary year 21-22, which is Serve to Change Lives. And his speech is on everywhere, on YouTube, on a video. I think we must listen to him. Very inspiring speech he gave. Club appointments. Very pleased to inform you that MCND have a new classification chair, past president Sajjad Akhtar. And as you know, our past president, Dr. Oliver Henning was the classification chair for many, many years, and he remains as an advisor. So PP Sajjad Akhtar takes over. We have a new second sergeant at arms, Rotarian Vineet Iyengar. As you all know, we have the sergeant at arms who's not here today, is John Philippi, and the second sergeant at arms could not join and unable to be a sergeant at arms because of personal reason. So we have, board has approved the appointment of Rotarian Vineet Iyengar. Welcome him. He's unable to join the meeting today, but we'll see him more often. Well, I just would like to remind again that on 23rd of February, we'll have our club meeting, which will be physical meeting, the first physical meeting together with WPD, which is World Understanding and Peace Day. The reservations are open, and we already have quite a number who have, all of you have reserved, and there are still some seats. Please join in, register yourself. The meeting will be at the Pavilion at Conrad International Hotel, Conrad Centennial Hotel, and all other Rotary clubs of Singapore will join us through Zoom. They will be located in different, they will be at different locations celebrating the Chinese New Year dinner, and they will join us at 8 o'clock for the meeting. Guest of honor, Mr. Zainul Abidin Rashid. Dinner, as I said, 7 to 8 p.m. It'll be Chinese dinner. Meeting starts 8 to 9 p.m. Maximum 50 physical, but the rest, whoever wants to join, can join on Zoom by login. It will be available. Dress code is business formal. Cost $75 per pax. Reservation is open, first come, first serve. See you all on 23rd. 23rd is not Wednesday, it is Tuesday. Now it's my pleasure to call upon PP Jimmy Wee. He will give you the information on Rotary Inter-Country Committee. I think I did explain briefly in last club assembly, and now he'll give you a little bit more details about the Inter-Country Committee of ASEAN. So may I call upon Jimmy, past President Jimmy Wee, please.
Thank you, thank you. And I hope it's not too noisy for you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, can I share? I'll share my screen. Just a moment. All right. You can see. Okay, you can see this. All right, this refers to the Rotary Inter-Country Committee. And for those who have still not sure what this is, the Rotary Inter-Country Committee is all about. This is about how we collaborate with other clubs. Actually, there are 2 or 3 clubs from different districts. They can collaborate for promoting friendship. So something similar to what we have done with the Synergy Alliance or the JWD grouping. But for the Rotary Inter-Country Committee, this is recognized by Rotary. It's recognized by Rotary itself, and we have now worked on the Inter-Country Committee for the whole ASEAN. Okay, when we talk about the whole ASEAN, that involves 9 countries in ASEAN countries. And these are the districts that you can see listed in this banner itself, are all 18 districts. So this is a very big task actually. So when we are looking into this, we need to propose a district resolution for the adoption of this ASEAN Rotary Inter-Country Committee by our district. And I'm actually seeking the Rotary Club of Singapore to lead this project. Now, just to give a background of what this Rotary ICC all about, now, it is according to the Rotary Code of Policies, where this is the Rotary Inter-Country Committee. So it promotes relationship between two or more international districts, and also in terms of increasing fellowship and cultural understanding. So we will, of course, look in terms of working with projects across borders, across continents, across oceans. But in our case, we're looking at ASEAN, in which involve 9 countries. In ASEAN, we have 10 countries. So the only country that is not involved would be Vietnam, where we don't have a Rotary Club. So this is where a group of us who are the interested Rotarians, we have just started a movement in that sense by setting up a planning committee. Okay, in ASEAN itself, as you can see from the PowerPoint, there are a total of 9 countries with a Rotary Club consisting of at least 1,000, almost 1,600 clubs in our region. And that in terms of membership in numbers will be around 35 to even 36,000 Rotarians. So this is a breakdown by countries, and you can see all are from the district. The biggest group will be Philippines with 10 districts. All right, and in Thailand has 4 districts, Indonesia got 2 districts, and the rest of the countries are all in the shared districts. This also work in line with the ASEAN community. In ASEAN community is involved 3 pillars: the economic, political, and social cultural. We are looking in terms of the ASEAN community for the social cultural part, and they are actually based on much of what social work all about in terms of solidarity, common identity, all about sharing and caring society. So that would actually align with the goal of Rotary itself. Okay, and then goals of the Rotary of put it down. Okay, in terms of the goals of Rotary of Rotary International, where we're talking about doing the same thing in terms of humanitarian service, advancing goodwill, but Rotary in ASEAN must be seen as a united community. So that is where we come in and able to work with ASEAN Rotary ICC, work with Rotary ASEAN under the ASEAN Rotary ICC, where we can support each other, especially in the area of focus. Because we have our wealth of expertise and experience in the region, and we have a very strong sense of community commitment and ownership of projects through all the Rotary Global grants, for which PP Dr. Shahul is already a champion for that. And of course, our strong cohesion in terms of the area of focus supported by the Rotary Foundation. So that again align with the Rotary vision statement, where we see a world of united people in taking action to create lasting change, right? See, looking at the timeline itself, we all started, this movement started in 2016 during PP Alan Tan's year, and it moved on to even to PP Mak Wang as well as IPP Depak's year. So this has gone on to the current time to President Dinesh, and I think I foresee that this by the time we get this movement would be the next will be after President Dinesh's year. So this is a timeline that have already been hatching all the while since the Rotary. We form an ASEAN Rotary network at first, leading to this ASEAN Rotary ICC. Hopefully by by this year, 2021. Okay, the timeline has already been gone through, of which we got support from RI, and we got the support from the International ICC National Council. We also have very strong support from the past Rotary International President and past Rotary International Directors in our region. Okay, support from the district from all the 9 countries has been forthcoming, and we have had an event where we had all the participants, about 200 of them, joining in this event. Most of them were PDGs or DGs and DGEs. Okay, so as you can see from this Rotary Fellowship events that we had way back in November last year, and I was attended by Doyens, very senior PDGs, as you can see, past RI and President Bichai Ratakun, and all the past RI directors from the various regions, including our PDG, Dr. Philbert Chin. Okay, and we even had the First Lady District Governor in ASEAN joining in this event. In fact, she is the second She was a second lady district governor in the world. All right. So in terms of the planning committee, we already had from our club, mainly from our club PDG, Philbert Chin and myself, and also actually representing Singapore include past President Dr. Shahul. Okay, and President Dinesh, of course, being the current president. And from all these are all from the various countries. We had our planning committee already, and the next step is to set up a district resolution for the adoption of this ICC. So that is the timeline that we're going to have. And in between, of course, there will be awareness campaign, which I'll be doing right now for our club, and we'll be doing so for the district before the conference in May, later May this year. Okay, then we will adopt the district resolution at the district conference before the signing of the ASEAN Rotary ICC Charter. We are planning for December 21 when we have the Rotary Institute in Singapore. Okay, so moving forward itself, once the resolution is adopted, the planning committee will be disbanded and the national section chairman for Singapore shall be appointed by the district governor, who will then form her own committee. So any interested Rotarians from our club or any other club who are keen to be part of the national section chair, please, part of the committee itself, you look out for the announcement. Okay, and from that itself, I put upon to President Dinesh and the board that the Rotary Club of Singapore can continue to lead the way in proposing this resolution. Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Past President Jimmy. Thank you for giving us all details about this inter-country committee, and we'll move from here. Thank you. I need to share my screen again. PP Jimmy, you can stop sharing. Before I go to the next item, I think our DRFC District Rotary Foundation Committee Chair, Dr. Shahul is here. Let us congratulate him for getting the 91st global grant approved, first time for a project in Brazil. That is also in response to COVID-19. Congratulations, Dr. Shahul. Thank you. I'm very pleased once again to induct a new member today. And the new member is John Gores, and I think some of you know him very well. He has been a member of our club, and he comes back again. May I now call upon Vice President Membership, Suresh Kirti, to introduce the new member. Suresh, please.
Thank you, President. It's my pleasure to introduce a candidate who is quite known to many of our members, John Gores, and happy to have him back into the club. He was with us for about 5 to 6 years in 2005, I think, to 2011. He had to step out for the certain work commitments, but he's back, and I'm glad. He's the senior partner of Deloitte, has spent over 30 years with them. He's just retired, and he's basically heading their technology vertical in the consulting company. His proposer was PP Dr. Shahul Hamid, and his classification is technology disruptions. Thank you. I present to you, John.
Thank you, Suresh.
President Dinesh, would you like me to say a few words?
A little later, please.
Okay, surely.
Yeah. Just a minute. I think I'll have to stop sharing. Fellow Rotarians, it is my privilege and pleasure today to welcome into our membership Mr. John Gores. His proposer was past President Dr. Shahul Hamid. The proposal has been reviewed in accordance with the Constitution and bylaws of the club. I now ask John, as you will be known in the club, we now proceed to admit you into membership in the Rotary Club of Singapore. You have been chosen for the membership in this club because your fellow members believe in you to be a leader in your field and have qualities which will allow you to carry out the work of a Rotarian. In electing you to membership, we are doing more than taking you into our fellowship. We are making you a trustee with us of Rotary ideals. Knowing you to be a Rotarian, the world will henceforth judge Rotary by your conduct. Membership in Rotary is an honor and privilege, and every privilege has its corresponding obligations. You have agreed to accept the responsibilities attached to your membership in this club and to obey this club's constitution and bylaws. One of the special obligations of membership is regular attendance at the weekly meetings and monthly service committee meetings, and also participation in the club projects and activities. It is the primary method of fulfilling the principle of service and fellowship, and also a way by which you represent your vocation. John, the ideal of Rotary is service. Our principal motto is service above self. And the object of this club and all Rotary clubs is to encourage and foster this ideal as a basis of worthy enterprise. You are to share in this effort for the rest of this Rotary year. I would be pleased if you would serve on the International Committee. Your mentor is past President Dr. Shahul Hamid, who will guide you to assimilation through the service committees. John, your classification is technology disruption. As you represent a classification, it is your duty to tell us about your vocation and to bring the ideals of Rotary to your business and profession. And now, by the power vested in me as a president of the Rotary Club of Singapore, I declare you to be an active member of this Rotary Club. I will present you with a Rotary emblem and a packet of Rotary literature at a later date. I specially commend to your attention the object of Rotary and the four-way test, which form the criteria for Rotarians in their daily lives. I also suggest that you, as you travel, you avail yourself of the extraordinary opportunity you will have to attend Rotary meetings and meet Rotarians throughout the world. This is another rewarding benefit of your membership. Fellow Rotarians, I'm happy to present to you Rotarian John, our newest member. Let us welcome John to the oldest Rotary Club and the District 3310, the Rotary Club of Singapore. Please unmute and welcome him.
Welcome, John.
Thank you, everyone.
Welcome, John.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Welcome, John.
Welcome to Rotary. We all look forward to the enrichment of our lives as well that of yours. By your association in this, the world's oldest, largest, and finest service organization. I would now like to invite Rotarian John to briefly address the club. Rotarian John, please.
President Dinesh, Suresh, Dr. Shahul, thank you very much for both the introduction and for having me back. As Suresh mentioned, I was quite active in the Rotary about 15 years ago, and work distracted me. I had a Southeast Asia role and traveled quite a lot, 5, sometimes 6 days a week, and it became a bit of a distraction. But I did make a promise 15 years ago, maybe it was 10 years ago by the time I left, to several people, Dr. Shahul, Stanley, Jimmy Wee, and Tappan, Suresh, and Colin Miles. Colin Miles introduced me into the club in around 2005, 2006. And I did say when I'm not so distracted in work that I will be back and I will be active again. And that's now, as Suresh mentioned, I've retired from Deloitte, almost retired. I've got a little bit of an overhang and a couple of things I need left to do, but more or less out. It's not a clean process to get out of a partnership. It's kind of a wind down process. So just about out. I am married locally. I'm a PR in Singapore and have been for many years. was previously married in the US many, many years ago. I have a son that turned 30, Christopher, who many of you met 15 years ago in Singapore, and he works for IBM. And now, glutton for punishment, decided to do it again. So I'm married locally, Singaporean Chinese, in 2005. I'm sorry, 2015. And I have a 4-year-old and a 9-month-old. And as you can imagine, having kids and working to be an active dad in your late 50s into your 60s and well into your 70s is a bit of an endeavor. So something had to give, and it wasn't going to be me. And so we decided to make work a very tertiary priority. So my family comes first, I come second, work comes third, and winding out of that process, which frees up some time for Rotary. So here I am back again. Thanks for having me and looking forward to working with everyone.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Welcome to Rotary.
Welcome.
It's Kaifa time again. Know your fellow Rotarian. And who is the Rotarian this time? Is Rotarian Arnold Palini. He's our new Rotarian. He joined on 16th of September this last year, 2020. And it's my great pleasure now to give you Arnold. Arnold, please.
Thank you very much, President Dinesh. Let me just share the screen. I have prepared a presentation for you. Okay. Okay, so before I start the presentation, I think I would like to really thank you, President Dinesh, and also Honorary Secretary Bridget, for giving me the opportunity to present to all of you today. So it's really an honor for me to be able to say a few words about myself. So tonight I am here with my wife and also with my daughter, and this is my Kaifa. So before I start introducing myself, I'd like to point out that I am one of the new members, as you mentioned. My induction was very recently, in fact, last year in September via Zoom, along with Rotarian Camilla, Luis, Ravesh, and Suhami. And I then received the new kits from President Dinesh in December. So now I'd like to introduce myself, and maybe to structure this presentation a little bit, I would like to use the framework to remind all Rotarians of their priorities when doing service above self and their obligation to the Rotary, the guide to daily living. So the first part is, have I spent some time in self-examination? So where do I come from and where has life brought me and what do I like to do? So I come from this city in France. So maybe some of you will recognize from the photo. I think if you've been to this city, you probably have very good memories. And if you have not, please do so in your next trip to Europe. So this is my hometown, Lyon. So we are very famous for our foods. This is a photo of the whole town, packed with all the restaurants that we call bouchons, where we serve, I would say, this kind of local food as well as wine. We're also famous for a football team, the Olympique Lyonnais. And we're also famous for some of our bold architecture. Now, very quickly, I was very attracted to a life outside of France. So I would like to show you on a map where my journey has brought me until now. So I started in Lyon in 2012, year in which I moved overseas for the first time, and I moved in Shanghai. So Shanghai was really great, but I was lucky enough to find another job opportunity in South Africa, in Cape Town, where I lived for about 2 years. And I then moved to Houston, Texas, with my then girlfriend, who later became my wife, Sabrina. And finally, we both moved to Singapore, where I was adopted by my family-in-law. Now, in terms of my hobbies, I very much like running, any kind of distances, from the very quick 5K blast to much long distance endurance races. And I'm very glad that my wife has always been quite supportive of this activity. Now, the second section is, have I spent quality time with my family? So I would like to show you, I think, the most recent photo that I was able to pull of my family, which happened to be a very memorable day for me because it was my wedding in Singapore on the 1st of April 2017. Now, a photo that is very dear to my heart with my older sister and as well as my brother. My brother is very engaged in Rotary life. In fact, he was the president in year 2018 and 19 of the Rotary Club in our own town in the 1710 district. So I think really listening to him talk about his engagement and service in the Rotary inspired me to join the club here in Singapore. Another photo that is very valuable to my brother is when he attended the Rotary convention in 2019, and he was able to meet with PASEAI president very recently. And now I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Sabrina, who I had the pleasure of marrying not only one, but twice. We married the first time in Houston, and then we had a second wedding with families and friends in Singapore. And now we received a blessing last year when our daughter, Eva Lily, was born in May 2021. She's here next to me. Now I'd like to introduce, what I do for a living, my work. So I graduated in 2012 with a master's degree in mechanical engineering from an engineering school in France in Lyon. And I moved overseas to take up my first assignment as a fresh graduate in oil and gas. So I did that for about 4 years. I had projects both offshore and also work onshore. So I think that I have learned a lot more during that time than over my period in a master's degrees. And in 2017, I decided to switch, move back to Singapore, and I transitioned to a position in sales. And I'm now responsible for regional sales for a Swiss distributor in Singapore. So I always want to keep on learning and progress in my career. So in 2019, I decided to enroll in the NUS MBA program with NUS. So I think you can see me on my photo. It's not very obvious. I have zoomed in, and you can see here myself giving a thumbs up on the first day of school induction. And now, since I have a little bit of time to spare in my hand, I've also decided to take up some of the, I would say, time-consuming and challenging financial certification, which I've been keeping busy quite a lot lately. And lastly, the last section is, I would say, my engagement in the Rotary, and the reason why I decided to join the club and why I've decided to give some of my time to someone near and someone far. So I think that I must admit that so far, I have enjoyed the fellowship more than the service. I think the Sunday's walk that I've participated was a really great way to meet with some of the fellow Rotarians, as well as during the ISC dinner with Pipi Lipke, Pipi Stam, and ISC Chavau, and also some great friendship with Luz and Camila, and the participation to the Winning Heart last Sunday with Peter as my co-pilot. And last but not least, I have reserved a special place in this presentation to honor someone who has been very helpful and provided invaluable guidance to me since I've joined the Rotary. Unfortunately, could not join tonight, Pipi Stan, but I would like to pay a little bit of a tribute for him and say that I'm very thankful for his kindness and help. And I really hope to keep this moving forward and hopefully meet with Charlotte in the future. So this was a little bit of myself. So do not hesitate to reach out to me for anything. You can find me on the Who's and Who directory, on LinkedIn, or even by flashing the QR code. Thank you very much for your attention. And President Dinesh, I would like to turn this back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotarian Arnold. And thank you for your presentation. I think all our fellow Rotarians know more about you. And you are joining the last number of new technocrats, professionals joining our club and from different vocations. And I'm sure you will bring a lot of your vocational experience to our club. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President.
Yeah. So now is the speaker time. And I would like to welcome our spouses, whom I can see, First Lady Rekha spouse Tejali and Mamta, and other whom I'm not able to see, and I'm told that there'll be 5 or 6 of them. Welcome, and they are here to listen to our speaker. And now our speaker, as I have said earlier, is Ms. Georgette Tan, President, United Women, Singapore, and the topic is empowering women and girls in Singapore. To introduce our speaker, may I call upon past President Palita to introduce. PP Palita, please.
Thank you, President Dinesh. President Dinesh, HM Bhagwan, HM Pa Mohan, distinguished guests and fellow Rotarians. For tonight's meeting, we have an interesting talk about empowering women and girls in Singapore. And who else is more qualified on this topic than our guest speaker, Ms Georgette Tan, who is president of the United Women Singapore, UWS for short. It is a nonprofit organization advocating gender equality and women's empowerment. It focuses on building the pipeline of future female leaders. Georgette is on the board of the Singapore Council of Women's Organization and is the chair of BoardAgender, an initiative of SCWO on increasing the number of women on boards and senior management positions. She also serves on the Taskforce on Family Violence in cooperation with the Ministry of Social and Family Development and Ministry of Home Affairs. Herself formerly a very powerful corporate women leader, I have known her since then. Georgette was Senior Vice President Communications for MasterCard for over 18 years. Earlier, she was with CNBC Asia. She was with Dow Jones Asia, Hong Kong Trade Development Council, and first job was with Singapore Tourist Promotion Board. Fellow Rotarians and friends, let us now welcome Georgette on her views on empowering women and girls in Singapore. Welcome, Georgette.
Thank you very much, Palita. It's so good to see you. It's been a while. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. It is great to reconnect. President Dinesh and all the distinguished Rotarians, thank you for this opportunity. It is indeed my pleasure and honor to be speaking to all of you, and thank you for your time this evening. Can I give a very special shout out before I start to my colleague, dear friend, Pia Bruce, who I've worked alongside for many years in this space. So Pia, great to see you. And of course to Brigitte.
Thanks, and likewise.
And thank you, Brigitte. Thank you for the invitation. It is truly an honor.
Great to see you here.
So I was planning to speak to you a little bit about the work that we do, but certainly also empowering girls and women here in Singapore, a topic that's been very close to my heart, as Palita has indicated. But before I commence with the presentation, can I just give a big shout out and a very big vote of appreciation to the Rotary Club for one very personal reason. My husband, many years ago, was a recipient of a Rotary Foundation Fellowship for Graduate Studies from the Boston Area Rotary Club. And that brought him, in fact, to Australia and to Sydney, where he spent some time. And then subsequently, he stayed in this part of the world, in Thailand and then in Singapore, where he has been in the region now for over 35, 36 years. So if it wasn't for the Rotary Club sending him over, we would never have met, we would never have had a family. We have two beautiful daughters, age 25 and 22. So I am deeply in debt to the Rotary Club. So I thought I'd start off with that first. Okay, so let me kick off now with a little bit about United Women Singapore. Some of you may know of us, and some of you may know a little bit of our work. But let me give you a little bit of a history of ourselves. And if I could get the deck.
Yes, shall I open the deck, Georgette?
Please do.
Okay.
Thank you, Brigitte. Thank you.
Let me just do this. Here we are.
Yep, coming up. Great. Thank you. That's wonderful. So
you just need to sort of cue me.
I just let you know. So actually, we can go to the next slide. Perlita did a wonderful introduction to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we are. Some of you may actually know us by what we used to be, the Singapore Committee for UN Women, and you know, an organization where, you know, Pia, you've been instrumental in establishing the Singapore Committee for many years. In fact, we've been in Singapore, had a presence for over 20 years. That said, in June 2019, we were no longer affiliated with UN Women. We became a locally registered, completely locally focused nonprofit, but keeping to the mandate, keeping to our cause and our passion, that of gender equality, women's empowerment, and building that pipeline of future women leaders. Can I have the next slide, please? And what hasn't changed, even though we had a name change, what hasn't changed, first and foremost, is our purpose. Please, next slide. Our purpose, as mentioned, it's about supporting women, very much like the Rotary Club. It's about service. How do we serve the women community, the female community? And this cuts across the board, whether it's young girls, young women, you know, in university, their first jobbers, all the way through women trying to get back into the workforce, women, you know, looking to give back to society. That's who our audience is. So our purpose is very clear. Our beneficiaries are women, and it's all about elevating them, giving them a voice. Next, please. You may be familiar with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. There are 17 in total. So our focus is, without a doubt, number 5, gender equality, where you can see that circled over there. But in the work that we do, we also encompass, we also touch on and embrace many of the other SDGs, certainly education, health, well-being, poverty, alleviating poverty, partnership, peace, reducing inequalities, sustainability. All of these are part and parcel, but our focus, our purpose, going back to the purpose, is that of gender equality. Next, please. So I mentioned we had been around for 20 years, so we've had a little bit of impact. 300,000, over 300,000 people in Singapore impacted by our programs through the last 20 years. And in particular, 26,000 girls, over 26,000 girls participated in our very, a program that we're very proud of. Is our flagship program. It's called Girls to Pioneers, and it really focuses on encouraging girls to take up STEM in school, so science, technology, engineering, and math, and to actually continue and pick STEM-related careers and STEM-related organizations. We started the program, Girls to Pioneers, in 2014, and year on year, it's been just growing strength to strength. Needless to say, there has been, of course, obviously, a strong focus here in Singapore by the Ministry of Education and the government on having more girls participate in STEM. If I can have the next one. So our next, just very quickly, you might see that there's a pattern here. The first one was purpose, which hasn't changed. The second I call P. So you can expect a couple more P's in my presentation here. The second one is about people. And here, if I can have a photo here, it's all about our staff, our members, our volunteers. We are nothing without this community. We are dependent on them for their generosity, not just in their donations, but really in the most valuable of all commodities, their time and their expertise. So we have a wonderful community of members and volunteers, a very large base of volunteers, of which there is a equally large core base who step up at every opportunity to serve the community whenever possible. Next one. Okay, the third P is our programs. And I gave you a quick little snapshot of one of the programs that we are very, very proud of. If I can have the slide. So this is Girls to Pioneers. And as I mentioned, it's all about really encouraging girls, young women to pick up, explore and pursue STEM subjects in school, in their institutions of higher learning, and also carry it through into their careers. We see this as very much of an equalizing force in the employment space. We also see this as a means of narrowing that gender pay gap, which we know exists everywhere, even here in Singapore. Next, please. So our target audience, as you can see, it's targeting girls from schools, local schools, the international schools. We have a wonderful community of homeschoolers, and that's actually growing, interestingly enough. And then we also reach out to the girls in the shelters and the low-income households. We do this through our partnerships with community service organizations, through the shelters themselves, and through other women-focused NGOs. We also actually reach out to the religious schools. There are, in fact, I believe, 2 madrasas that are all-girl madrasas who we work with. And I've indicated there the differently abled. That was actually key to our strategy last year in 2020, to be expanding our program to the differently able. We didn't quite make it for obvious reasons. It was an interesting year for us. So because of that, we're making that our focus and one of our targets for this year, 2021. Our community, obviously, teachers, facilitators, parents, and anybody who's interested in the STEM space and ensuring that girls have as much of a chance to excel in STEM. Next, please.
Sorry, I'm just...
Sure. So, you know, you might be asking yourselves, why STEM? And not just because the government was focusing on it or has been focusing on it. We actually do a lot of primary research ourselves. We did so as Committee for UN Women, and definitely as United Women Singapore. We, very interestingly, there's something that was consistent in some of the research that we found. Firstly, that girls didn't find STEM subjects in school difficult in actuality. They actually found it quite interesting. So, and the level of interest was quite high. So it wasn't a competency issue, but what it was a confidence issue, right? And the confidence stemmed from, and I no pun intended, I apologize, but it actually was rooted to the fact that families encouraged the boys in their families to pursue STEM, but they weren't as keen on or encouraging of the girls to pursue it, certainly into higher education. So the girls didn't feel they got that support from the family. The family unit was really critical. As I mentioned, it's all about confidence. So that if they didn't get that support, they were less confident in the space. And lastly, something that was really interesting, girls were very keen to look to role models. They wanted to aspire to, and they wanted to reach out and have mentors to aspire, to follow, and engage with in the STEM space. So our research definitely showed this, And we continue to use this research to refine our program, to make it more relevant. So while we started the program in 2014, and we've continued to build it year on year, we're seeing that the program in the last couple of years, one, it's gone digital. We used to just do a lot of outreach and workshops into the schools. Polita, you probably remember that. Actual workshops are anywhere from 50 girls to 200 girls, 300 girls. Now, obviously, we've built it on a digital platform, and we're using the digital platform to engage the girls. That being said, topics. We're expanding the reach, we're deepening the curriculum. Topics that will definitely be valuable to girls from an employability perspective. So looking at areas around cyber tech, artificial intelligence, algorithms, cryptography, all those things, as well as sustainability, food security, clean energy, all the areas that we know will be the future businesses and organizations that will be looking to hire. So it's all about getting the girls ready for their future employment. If I can have the next slide. So I mentioned we used to run lots of workshops. We still do this through webinar and through Zoom. We have tons of speaker series, webinars, interesting women who come aboard to talk about their own journeys. And just recently, not too long ago, we had a webinar from by partnering with the US Embassy. We were able to get a NASA scientist, an astronaut, to come and talk to the girls about her experience, and also the challenges that she encountered in her STEM career. What we are looking to be doing as we expand this program out, because we are in fact in our 7th year of the program, we're looking to expand this into mentorship. So as we started with the foundational program, the workshops, the webinars, and we used to take the girls out for corporate visits when this was, pre-COVID. Now we're looking at a mentorship program where we actually match girls with women in the STEM space and have them mentor the girls for 6 months, walk them through, answer questions, guide them, and help them as they start to think about the subjects that they want to take at university or pre-university or poly, but also what they should be thinking about outside of that space too. So we're hoping that these mentors will actually play a really valuable role in guiding their mentees into making these decisions. And what we're hoping to do later this year is also part of our STEM outreach to create a scholarship program to help the students, particularly at junior college, particularly at the ITE and poly, not just to pay for their school fees, because as you all probably know, the government has many scholarship programs available to students. But in talking to the students, in talking to the low-income households, what the girls really need is money for their livelihoods. Okay, so it's everything from their transport costs to food, because very often they stay back in school to do work for their assignments, so to get dinner. So it's not just school fees, it's all those other costs. And in many cases, that if they do come from lower income households, they take part-time jobs. They work flipping burgers, they run errands. If we can provide them with a little money so that they don't have to do these part-time jobs, they can actually focus on their studies. They can actually focus on their STEM career after that. So that's really our thinking. We're looking to build this out towards the second half of this year. So watch the space. We're hopeful that we'll be able to announce our scholarship program a little later. If I can have the next slide.
Why is it not?
It's stuck.
My
It's
system
frozen.
stuck somehow. I don't know.
It's frozen. Oh.
Maybe I just.
While Brigitte is
wait.
doing. Oh, there you go. Okay, there we are. Okay.
Yeah, here we are. Sorry.
I was going to say any questions at this point because I'm happy to take questions. Stop me in between because I can talk forever. so stop me in between and but you know it's a topic I'm passionate about. So the second area, so STEM is one area in the education space, but it's also part of empowerment and on the pathway to empowerment. The second area that we've really focused our energies and our attention is that of domestic violence and abuse. So I'm sure you've all read the fact that, you know, domestic violence, unfortunately, or family violence, as it's sometimes called, exists everywhere around the world. Singapore is no exception. And unfortunately, 2020, the pandemic, the lockdown, the circuit breaker, whatever you want to call it, only exacerbated the situation. Because by putting these women into their confines of their small apartments and flats and homes, the added economic stress from family members being furloughed, losing jobs, losing livelihoods and income, we have unfortunately seen instances of domestic violence increase everywhere around the world and even here in Singapore. So if I can go back, yes. So I mentioned earlier that we love our research. So Brigitte, the next slide, please. We love our research. So we did some research actually pre-COVID, didn't realize that it was going to be so pertinent. But look at some of the results. 1 in 10 experienced violence themselves. All right, 1 in 3 experienced violence or knows of somebody who has been physically abused, who has been subject to abuse. This one I find very actually disturbing. 1 in 4 actually does not consider hitting a spouse as domestic abuse if it does not leave a physical wound. So the blue-black mark, broken bones, blood stains, gashing open wounds. If it's not physical wound, 1 in 4 actually doesn't consider it domestic violence. 2 in 5 actually, it's 40%, doesn't think domestic violence is prevalent in Singapore. So with these numbers, we said, look, we want to be doing something to help in this space. So if I can have the next slide. Yes, thank you. So we looked at the research and we realized there were 2 areas that UWS could actually work in and hopefully make a difference. Government, particularly, as I mentioned, as you heard earlier, there is a task force made between the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of Social and Family Development. This joint task force is looking specifically at the issue of family violence in Singapore. There will be a white paper that is being pulled together by the ministries, which will come out towards the end of April. There have been lots of consultations and conversations and dialogues with the victims, with the caregivers, with the frontliners, but interestingly also with the perpetrators too, because it is 2 sides of the equation that we have to tackle. So when we looked at what was the landscape, we said one area that we could work in and perhaps make a difference was to leverage our own network, our community of corporates, the corporates that we currently work in, the ones that we partner for all our programs. And we developed an anti-violence initiative, and we called it Gen Safe Workplace. It really is to provide the HR teams, the senior management, the line managers, an opportunity to identify, to recognize, to respond, and to refer if in fact they suspect that their employees, their teammates are victims of domestic violence. It is particularly relevant as we're coming out of, and the relaxation of the quarantine parameters, and as people start to go back to work. So we have a program, we're running it as a foundational program, but we also run specialist clinics where we work with corporates, where we work specifically with the HR professionals and partners to help them and guide them and provide them best-in-class expertise from around the world. So that's one area that we're working in. The other area that we thought was a bit more of a long tail initiative. And it really was to say, how do we prevent, how do we ensure that we stop violence for future generations? And we thought, why don't we look at empowering boys? Empowering boys, equipping boys to understand and value the role that women play, whether it's their families, communities, workplace, society. Also, it's to help them, I think, redefine relationships, redefine what masculinity looks like. So it's not just about if they see their fathers or their grandfathers beat up the women in their families, that's not being a man. And we hope that as we empower these boys, as we educate these boys, as they grow up, they have their girlfriends, they have their wives, their intimate partners, they actually break the cycle of violence. So it's something that is a bit of a long lead. We're launching this program, in fact, this quarter. We're working with an agency, a sports agency, a governmental sports agency called Sports Care. And they're obviously providing us with their coaches and athletes to be the role models and to be trained to speak to boys and again, become, encourage them to understand healthy relationships. So these are the two programs that we're running in this space, where the journey has just started, but we are very, very keen and very focused on this because we recognize that this is something, if we don't nip it in the bud, this will only get worse. If I can get the next slide. Just a little bit more about what we do. We obviously the area of advocacy, we have impact awards, and we have 4 categories: organization, we recognize a male change maker, we recognize a female change maker, and we introduced something just last year. It was the youth category, because we recognize that there are a lot of young youth activists who want to make a difference and who are already making a difference in their own way, particularly in the space of gender diversity and women's empowerment in their own communities, in their own schools and such. We have this as an annual award every year. The next, please. I should mention that we are, in fact, completely self-funded, and funds raised obviously come to our operations here in Singapore. We have a small team who works very, very hard, who double up and do multiple jobs. Pia can attest to that. But we also fundraise to help other women's organizations within especially the SCWO umbrella. So while last year, 2020, was, everybody was very focused, as I know the Rotary Club here in Singapore, and all of yourselves were focused on relief for COVID and outreach. We put our fundraising a bit on the back burner, and we put our fundraising to help women and shelters. So again, speaking to the point that, with COVID, with the restrictions, we were seeing incidences when women were having to leave their homes because they were being abused. They feared for not just physical harm, but in some cases, even their own lives, and certainly the welfare of their children. So they were seeking help from the many shelters here in Singapore, the women's shelters, and we ended up raising money to help these women get through the tough time, but also to reassure them that the community does care for them. So, those were just some of the events. We've traditionally had a big gala night, which is a big fundraiser. We have an event which we call Buy to Save, which we run, I think, now for over 10 years. And it's really, our effort around sustainability, where we get our partners, we get our volunteers and our members to donate pre-loved, gently used, but still wonderful quality items, many of which are, designer items. And by the way, many of these still have their tags on them, so they haven't been even used. And we run a gigantic pop-up sale. And it's a win-win situation. The donations go to good use. We are able to raise some funds. And there are lots of women and men who actually come and get some great bargains, knowing that they're going to give these a second life. So it's win-win-win all around. It's, by the way, it's really, really hard work. And after 3 days of running this gigantic pop-up sale, all I can say is we have a newfound respect for the retail industry because it is so hard. And then of course we obviously have other fundraisers, where we've raised funds for the shelters. Next, please. So the last P, the fourth P, the first one was our purpose. The second was our people. The third, our programs, and last, our partners. And I'm going to say right off the bat, we are nothing if it wasn't for the fact that we have amazing partners. So just a sample of the government agencies and the other nonprofits that we work with, a good cross-section here. And then the next slide, if you don't mind, Brigitte. Oops, there we go. A number of, and again, a cross-section of our corporate partners. And you can see it's, you've got financial services, you've got agri-tech, you've got pharma, you've got design, you've got marketing companies, media, a variety. And we've also worked with a number of the US Embassy here in Singapore. In fact, just yesterday, we did a movie viewing, courtesy and in partnership with the US Embassy here in Singapore. The EU has been very supportive of the work that we do, and also the Canadian High Commission. So this is just a sampling of the partners that we work with. There are lots more, actually. Next, well, the road ahead. We know we are just scratching the surface, baby steps, but nonetheless, very, very necessary steps. We love the work we do. It's a small team, as I mentioned, but everybody is super passionate about the work that we do and really wanting to make a difference, make an impact. And, it's about being in unison. And if you see everybody's locking arms, it's about the partnership, because that's critical. I say it again, we are nothing if it wasn't for the fact that we have amazing partners. So just the last slide, if you don't mind. Oh, yeah, there you go. You may have heard, this is the year 2021. It was just announced, Prime Minister just announced it last week, that this is the year of celebrating SG women. There in September last year, Minister Shanmugam actually launched a campaign, an initiative that really wanted to look to do a massive review of women's development here in Singapore, and really looking at gender equality in the various spaces. So this started in Q4 last year. The plan is to have something like 120 different conversations with women's groups and men also, by the way, because men as a partner, critical to this equation. And with all this information, they are pulling together a white paper that will be pulled together at end of the year, and obviously presented to Parliament to see what work is needed to elevate the role of women, to recognize them, to move the dial with regards to gender equality. So I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. I hope I've given a quick snapshot of the work that we do, and I hope I've conveyed the passion that we have, but also what the situation here is in Singapore. You know, we pride ourselves, obviously, being a very progressive society, but we recognize that we still have a ways to go. So whether it's, you know, girls in STEM, getting them on board, you know, having more women in the workforce, you know, at a young age, returning, all the way through to women at the board level, where the latest number, I believe, is we're at around 17% of the top 100 companies on SGX have women on boards. So it certainly keeps us busy. It certainly continues the work that we do. And if there are ways in which we can work with yourselves, the Rotarians, your individual capacities, or as the Rotary, we would count ourselves blessed and truly grateful.
Thank you. Thank you, Georgette, for your very inspiring and insightful speech. I think I will say once again, we are all delighted to have you with us. And you have so clearly shown us the focus and the fantastic work that you are doing. And partly you answered one of the questions which I wanted to ask was how our club can help and participate in your programs.
Oh my goodness, where do I start? You know, in all of you have your spheres of influence. All of you have, whether it's in your corporate space, your own community, whether it's your subject matter expertise that perhaps you would like to contribute, whether you'd like to fundraise with us and help us fund some of our programs maybe, and very specifically some of the programs that, you know, that are more difficult. Things like the Boys Empowered program, the domestic violence program. Those are, you know, sensitive topics. And they need the support, and they need speaking about, in order to be addressed.
Thank you.
So absolutely, we would look forward. We would welcome that open arms.
Thank you very much.
Can I?
We will internally discuss and find out how we can work with you. And
absolutely.
Now I will open to the floor for question and answer, and I hand over to our Honorary Secretary, Bridget, to coordinate. Bridget.
Yes, thank you, President. If I just may take the opportunity, because just relating to the question you asked, particularly, I mean, it's all centered around women. When we look at our club, I mean, we do have female members. We have Pipi Palita here, who is our first female past president, and Mili, incoming president, a lady as well. So but we still have a majority of men in our club. So how do you activate the men to support the women's cause? I saw I think 2 female sort of faces in your group sort of photos, but I think that would probably be something, you know, where particularly our club with the expertise and so on of the senior leaders, the male senior leaders, could probably add a particular value.
Well, you know, thank you for raising that, because, you know, the Boys Empowered program, as I mentioned earlier, is part of the domestic violence program. But at the same time, it's part also, it ladders up to a bigger campaign that really looks at male allies. Because it's not just about, and obviously we advocate for women to be stepping up, and we advocate for women to be supporting women, but we cannot do this alone. The male allyship is so critical to help open doors, be mentors, be sponsors, and clear the way and provide these opportunities for the women too, whether it's in, again, the home, it's in the community, it's at the workplace, or senior leadership, at a country level. So I think male allyship, and with your distinguished Rotarian base, I think that could be perhaps a good place to start.
Cool. Do we have other questions from the floor? Anyone?
Yes.
Oh, Carlo, yes, please.
A question to the speaker. There seems to be another NGO in Singapore called Aware.
Yes.
Are there someone linked to you because they have similar programs?
Actually, there are many women's organizations. Many of them touch on similar areas. Aware is another women's organization. They do a lot of work in the anti-violence space, and they are a direct service. So one of the key things that they do is they have a hotline. They actually man a hotline and are able to take the calls from many of these women who, need answers to questions or have concerns. So we have a lot of respect for our sisters at Aware, but we do slightly different work. They have this direct this direct service. Our focus is, while in the domestic violence space, it is focused on workplace. Right? And our program is slightly different. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, it is all about women's empowerment, and we're all working towards that.
Because it's an old story, but in those days,
yes,
male could not become a member of Aware. So how?
I think that's still the case, actually.
So how about your NGO? Can males be a member?
Oh, we would welcome men to be members. And as I said, we're all about male allyship, because we cannot do this alone. We cannot. We recognize that, and we value the male partnership.
Good. Right answer. Thank you.
No, thank you for the question.
PP Mark, you have a question? Do you want to just sort of, I think, can you mute yourself?
Sure. Okay, my question is, I think your program is wonderful. I think you're encouraging women to step up and take on, let's say, male-dominated roles, and also prevent abuse by whistleblowing and so on. So all of that will lead to equal opportunity. But do you think if there's enough bias in the world that we need to go further, be more proactive with what we call affirmative action initiatives, such as quotas and initiatives?
That's a favorite topic, quotas, right? I think we take the view that it's good to have targets, it's good to have goals, and to work towards them. I think, and certainly when we have targets, when we have quotas, particularly, at senior management or at the board level, and I think that's probably one of the clearest examples, you might end up with tokenism, right? Women being brought on just to fill a position, and, not recognizing her for her real role or her contribution. And what we're also hoping is that it doesn't stop at just one woman on the board. There are obviously studies that say, for women to be really truly effective on a board or at senior management, you probably need 3 or more. So if you set a quota system, then you might end up leaning and being inclined towards tokenism. And that's really not the direction that we're hoping. But I think at the end of the day, targets being set, goals being set, and obviously effort and support being given to getting to these targets, that's what we're all working towards. Certainly the cultural bias, it's always going to be something that we have to work at. And again, it's this long play, it's the long lead. So part of it is being very patient, before we see impact.
I think.
Can we have the last question, please?
Yes, Sonali is the lady with the last question.
Thank you, Bridget.
Hi,
Georgette.
Hello.
I really want to applaud you and Pia and the entire team for the amazing work that you're doing. And I know you're making a difference. This is a cause which is very close to my heart as well. And I have been working in this space in India for a while. I think one of the biggest challenges is that women come into the workforce and then drop out along the way. Due to gender roles and not finding a conducive environment for them to continue. So while working on bringing in more women into STEM is definitely necessary, what sort of programs or efforts are being made to help women continue in those roles? Because unless they continue, finding women for leadership roles is also a challenge. I feel that's a big gap area, and would love to know your thoughts on what's being done.
And again, I think this goes back to, if we build the confidence of the girls young, and you keep this going and you keep their attention and you can you fan it actually, so that they also realize that they not only as they progress up the corporate ladder or employment space, they also bring along other women. So they also bring along other women, younger women, and they mentor them too. I think that's part of it. The other part, again, I go back to, if we can get more men involved and get them involved in ensuring that the environment is conducive to women, right? And that women are given a fair chance at everything within the organization, whether it's a new job, a role, it's a promotion, an opportunity to take an overseas posting. I think those are the things that make a difference and can definitely, to your point, retain women within an organization. But you raise a very good point. Many women also drop out, not just because of the environment, right? But also because they take it upon themselves to start a family and be around for their children. So I think you don't want to penalize them for that. So we're taking a look also at how do we get women back into the workforce? How do we encourage them, whether it's part-time work first, and certainly work from home nowadays it's becoming more palatable, certainly very much the norm. So if we can encourage that and encourage companies to be doing more of that too, I think that will make them more attractive to attracting good female talent, but also retaining good female talent.
Thank you.
I hope that helps answer some of your thoughts there.
Thank you. Thank you, Georgie. May I call upon Pia Bruce to give a vote of thanks?
Certainly my honor to extend the vote of thanks for Georgette for this inspiring presentation and insightful answers to all the questions, and talking about UWS's journey and the innovative programs for girls in STEM and the pioneering work that UWS is doing in the anti-violence space at workplaces and with young boys. And I also want to extend a special thanks to Georgette for speaking through back pain, injuring herself earlier today. And I didn't notice it throughout the presentation. That is commitment, and commitment is what Georgette is known for. So again, thank you, Georgette.
Thank you, Pia. Again, we could not do the work that we do without you as our counselor and advisor and close friend and mentor. So thank you, Pia. Thank you, all of you. Can I say that if any of you would like to reach out to us, please, through Pia or Brigitte, if you could provide my email address, my email contact, I would be happy to engage, take the conversation further. If you have questions or would like to find out more, both Pia and I, we're here for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Georgette.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
I still have a question, but I'll send it to you, Georgette. I have a question, but I'll
Polita,
send
of
it to
course.
you.
You reach out to me. We'll go grab coffee.
All right, I will.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All the best. Take care.
You.
Nice
Take
to meet you
care.
Thanks again.
Thank you, President
Rosemary.
Dinesh. Thank you so much.
Rosemary.
I will
Round of
take my leave
applause.
now.
Another round of applause
Please,
for Georgette.
unmute yourself and give a round of applause to our speaker, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will take my leave here.
Okay, have a lovely
Take care.
evening and have a good
Bye-bye
night.
now. Bye-bye.
Well, the next week's speaker is Mr. Kevin Teo, Chief Operating Officer, Asian Venture Philanthropy Network. The topic is Corporate for Social Impact. Interesting topic once again. And please join another meeting next week. And with that, I think we are already 8:30, but if you like, we can have a few minutes of fellowship, those who want to stay back. But I would now close the meeting. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.